a
Good
delay.
idea for this time. What they have.
Okay. Now I'm just using this as an example on input. So this is the three most commonly used ways to store a number using circuits without using a stat. So this would not necessarily be player dependent. This can be used to store an ID, an object ID, a score, or other miscellaneous information. Each of these serve a separate purpose. And you can use this one instead of this one if you wanted to with just an extra chip. But they do act slightly differently. I'll go over this one first. This one is a ring store, and it holds the information that you place inside it. This one also allows you to add or subtract from the stored number. So my player ID is 1, so if I hit the trigger zone, 1 would be stored in this one. And then if I hit it again, it would increase by my player ID again, so it would become a 2. Because it stores the number and then adding whatever you place into it. This one is similar, but it auto resets. A reset ping actually passes through the value that you send it. So it would pass through the number into the reset, resets the whole chip, and then sends it back out to be stored. So this automatically resets itself and leaves itself as a 0 for 1 tick, which can be useful for some circuits. In other circuits, it could mess up the entire thing. Simply by having it as a not being able to update every tick or needing to like just flash reset, and he left. So does anyone have any questions over these two? Does this make sense to everyone?
Uh,
Yeah.
Bucket exception.
How can we use those? Like, what's the
You can
purpose?
use these to store numbers, like a score, player ID, an object ID, a value, stuff like that. So you could have it so that if someone, like if you want to store like a high score of a game or something, you could use one of these. Or if you want to store the current score and then reset it after. Oh, Luke. This one here is a randomizer chip, obviously. And if you remember what I said last time, minimum number, one higher than the maximum. If you send the same number, it stores that number. So this will be able to be updated every tick, and it will output whatever number you send it, and is usually the best way to store a number. Hey Luke, what's up?
So is this storing the player ID? Is that what it's storing?
If you explain the player ID if you use a trigger zone. But you can put any number in there to store however you want. You can also use the an OR chip to store a single one. So if like an event happens and you want to remember that happened during the game, you can just use an OR and loop it back on itself, and then you can identify that it's happened.
I think
So does this make sense to everyone? Okay. Or you can use this to store any numbers you want. So I'm going to move this off to the side now, and we'll talk about another way to store.